Battersea Power Station is one of the key landmarks in London and in the UK. That building has a lot more detail and a lot of more care into its facade treatment than a usual traditional power station. For years, it was just one enormous building surrounded by empty land, and then it became redundant and derelict. Restoring a project like that, it's not your traditional restoration project. What was always exciting and interesting was this idea of finding supplier and finding people who can help us. And one of the big challenges of the project was the windows.
When we were told about the challenge that WilkinsonEyre was taking on, there were so many things that it needed to do right. First of all, they had the volume, they had the heritage aspect from a historical point of view.
This is a building which was designed for machine, as big shed with very little daylight, very little openings, and where we needed to transform it into a place where people can recreate, work, live. And when you transform a building which is a grade 2 star listed building, then there's all the scrutiny which go with it.
So Janisol Arte looks like an original system, but it has these special properties. You can do double glazing, you can do triple glazing into that, and steel is so strong you can get very slim profiles, and that will let in a lot of light. So there you really get to a very high modern standard.
This is super important, the energy efficiency of a building of that scale. We've got 45,000 square meters of offices in that building, which is the size of the Gherkin in London, and that's only 30% of the overall area of the building.
We just knew we could do it. It's a thermally broken steel window system, so even passive house would be possible with a system like this.
So Jansen came with the approach of saying, well, we've got profiles which are exciting, but actually we understand we're going to need to evolve them, adapt them, and make them to work for this building, and they were very excited by the challenge.
We called it the absolute detail because it did everything. You can get openable parts in the same kind of image as the fixed glazing, but then it was really for us a cherry on the cake when we were asked also to develop and design the brass fittings.
You want to feel you're opening a window of a building which is there for the next 150 years. So that question of the detailing was crucial. The other challenge, I suppose, as well, is there were a few companies who could do those bespoke profiles, but not at that scale.
When WilkinsonEyre was teaming up with one of our international partners, Zele, they knew we could get those details. So what happened was, although steel frames were fabricated in a traditional way, they were also actually glazed in a factory. So you would get a prefabricated element that was brought to the site and then installed in an incredibly fast way.
The challenge was always for us as designers that we've always been very aware of sustainability and we've always wanted to push for sustainability. But now what is great is everybody and even clients are aware of sustainability. Until now, very often when a building was 20, 50, 75 years old, it was very common to just say, well, it's now time to demolition and rebuilding. That kind of discussion now has totally evolved. Reusing the building fabric that we've got is really the major evolution to work.
We are always talking about adaptive reuse, and that's very exciting. It's really becoming not just more a trend, it's really going into the DNA of almost every architect today. And there we can really introduce our systems very well because they're very flexible. Also a system that can last decades.
This is the future, and products like Jansen are made for that. They're made for being able to justify how you can look at old technology, old system, and how can you adapt them and make them more performant. Fundamentally, if you create something which is designed to last for 150, 200 years, there's nothing more sustainable than that.